This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, you gotta work. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. That's exactly what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're gonna feel.
I call again for immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome. Lembit, Öpik here on Lembit, Öpik Live on this stormy day in British politics. Every day is a stormy day in British politics, I'd say. And if you're watching this live, I have a massive cyclone behind me there in honour of Warren Thornton, who's still in the thick of it over in the Philippines. We'll try and get an update from him once the storm has passed. In the meantime, lots of problems in the UK as well. And some very interesting developments when it comes to migration. Now, we're going to do something slightly different today. Marilyn Hawes, who's an increasing person, guest on the station, very close to having her own show, if she behaves herself. Well, she's brought a very wonderful guest called James Timms, who's been doing an awful lot of work. I won't describe what they're going to talk about, but I'm going to try something. I'm going to hand the show over to Marilyn today and see how she does. Marilyn, good to see you. What a
hello, lovely to
smile
see you.
You have there, Marilyn.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
What a winning smile you have, Marilyn.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, that doesn't calm my nerves. Thank you.
No, you why would you be nervous? I'll be right here. I'll dive in
right.
if you get it wrong.
That helps.
I wouldn't do that. How have you been?
I've been very well, thank you. Weekend in Nottingham, drunk too much of, the grape juice, but there we go. Recover and bounce back quickly. That's my motto.
That's like the human miracle is to turn wine back to what it started as.
Well,
so
exactly.
Story.
Exactly. So I'm fine, thank you. How I drove back from Nottingham and hammered down the road at 80 miles an hour is beyond me, but
You're not meant to. You've just incriminated yourself.
I know. But there are people going far faster than me, waving in and out, 100 miles an hour.
That's like the Labour Party. If you think the Tories are bad, look at us, or the other way around, whatever it is. Yeah, not a good ad, but don't go into car sales. Right, now, you've got yourself a great guest today, so I'm going to hand over to you and see how it goes. Have some fun with it. The reason is because I have very little to contribute, because you and James Timms know each other. I'm going to disappear off. You can do the introduction, and when you say the time, then we'll hand over to you and James. But I'm going to take a back seat. The floor is yours, and you can tell us what we're talking about as well. Over to you.
Morning, everybody. And it's a very interesting guest we have, James Timms. He's a remarkable person, and I hope he's going to pop up on the screen any minute so I can ask him some questions. He's been a very busy boy down in Hillingdon. I think we should call him our man in Hillingdon. He actually heard me on another media channel. Of course, there is only one media channel. That's Unprecedented TV, of course. But this was another one. And he thought, could I help? Can I get involved? Well, I don't do marches and I don't do protests, but I thought I really believe in what he was doing. And so I said, I'm happy to help and try and bring in the media to give you sort of a bigger platform. So the background of this story is that in Hillingdon, they have the largest number of migrants in what is a small district. So much so they have 4 huge, if you know anything about Heathrow, you have this 600-room Holiday Inn, which was once nice. You have the Crown Plaza, the Mercure, and the Novotel, all of which are rammed with undocumented males. I don't think there's any females there. And these men have been sort of striding around town, groping women, groping girls, even rape. And then we had the very sad stabbing, awful, brutal stabbing of Wayne Broadhurst the other day. So prior to that, James was like actually getting very motivated with a very small team. And actually he's proved that it only takes a few passionate people to actually, it takes a few passionate people to actually create an army. You don't need 1,000 people because that will grow as you give your passion to it. And this has been the case. And I want James to tell us what he did yesterday, because I'm going to ask some questions about that. And hello, James, our man in Hillingdon. How are you?
Good morning. Yeah, not too bad. Thank you. Thanks for having me back on.
So, having done that background story, I feel from watching what you've done, and I've seen the progression from what you did a month ago to what you did yesterday, which is obviously a wonderful day remembering. But I don't know if you felt the same as Lembit and I had a chat yesterday, and I agree with him that there we are going, lest we forget. And there's still all these awful killings and wars, Ukraine, Gaza, etc., Sudan, anywhere. It's just awful. You think, why can't people just get common sense and humanity and empathy and save life instead of just aimlessly destroying it? But what I think, and I might be wrong, so correct me, is that the brutal stabbing of Wayne Broadhurst, and it was brutal, and anyone listening, I can assure you, I have seen the actual video, and I think I counted 18 times he was stabbed, and that man was out gently walking his dog. He should still be alive today. And from where I sit, I feel, James, please tell me if I'm wrong, that may have galvanized the troops yesterday. Do you think so?
Yeah, definitely. There's been so many incidents leading up to the unfortunate killing of Wayne Broadhurst, and I think, to be honest, that a lot of people had just got to the point where it was the unspoken line in the sand, that's now caused people to really say, where is this going to end? And it needs to be addressed, and something has to change. This can't continue the way it's going, and this is not the only incident in the last week that we've had. Again, with the ongoing issues already within the Hillingdon Borough, we've already had a 12-year-old girl touched and molested by an undocumented migrant on a bus on her way to school in the morning, about 8:15, I believe it was, from a friend of myself. It's like I said, and I keep saying it over and over, just where is this going to end? When is people going to listen?
We had a problem, didn't we, with your own child and the police. We had the crime number. I actually phoned the police, and I was horrified when they didn't want to speak to me. But that's that's never. They don't ever want to.
They don't ever want to speak to anybody. They don't ever want to speak to anybody. But
it was 2 months, wasn't it? Because they told me, oh well, we've been out to see Wayne's daughter, and then when I rang you, 2 months. They and had done nothing, had they? So. No. It's an absolute dreadful. May I ask also, with yesterday, were Wayne's family there at all? Were they aware of what's happening?
We had been in touch with Wayne's family prior to the banner that we had made that you can see there in that photo. And we had full consent from his family to use his photo so we could pay a tribute to himself. Unfortunately, they didn't want to attend. I believe, obviously it's a very touchy and very delicate situation. It is, which you can understand, it is very nice that people are willing to pay tribute, but obviously it's still very very tender at the moment, so we wanted to make sure that we handled this with the utmost respect, and we wanted people to come and if they were from the local areas, or even if they weren't from the local areas, as long as they were happy to come and show their support for not only the event that we did, but obviously to pay their respects to Wayne. We were more than happy to have everybody come.
And also what I was, because you sent me photos late last night, and it was a very colourful event actually, wasn't it? Because it was not just poppies. The whole thing was ablaze with other things. If perhaps you'd like to tell us that was your brainchild at one of those sort of what you call them, light bulb moments just before the day before.
Well, I've always adapted the attitude that I don't solely take credit for everything that's happened, and for the way that things have gone. It's always been 100% a team effort. But it was that, like you say, that light bulb moment that we're not the only country that served in the war, World War I, World War II. There were other countries that were involved that helped us have the country that we have today. Unfortunately, due to Labour and you know, it is taken. The country has taken a massive turn. You know, but we need to get this back on track. And you know, what better way to prove to people that, you know, we're not racist? You know, we are here to, you know, because we did have a lot of speculation over doing this event on the day. But we explain to people over and over, you know, this is about showing our respect, you know, paying homage to the people that laid down their lives, and you know, and the English weren't the only country to do that. So, you know, we wanted to make sure that, you know, we could let everybody else see that we're not only going to pay respects to our own country, we are quite happy to pay all our respects to every country that helped us and helped themselves to get where they are today.
I mean, it was a very colourful event. I mean, and a lot of physical hard work. I mean, that's a heck of a lot of flags hacking up. And did that go smoothly or not? Or was there a few
I must admit, there was a bit of alcohol along the way to help people keep going. But
there was somebody. Was I right in thinking somebody helped put the flags up? It wasn't exactly how they should have been presented.
No, there was numerous things that, you know, when people do things, they like to do things properly, you know, and I'm very much one of them people that I'm very meticulous in the way that I do things and the way that I present myself. So hence how you saw the flags on the cemetery railings. We thought it was nothing but absolutely perfect place to have them flags on the backdrop of the war memorial, whilst having the crowd turn up there and have speeches and have you know, some old war music playing in the background, which you know, we got nothing but absolute praise from everybody, including a couple of soldiers that were there as well.
I think that it just seemed to me when I looked back at the videos last night that it was a truly respectful event, and I would say actually dignified, as I think is the word I would use.
I mean, we did ask everybody prior to leaving, that we just said, look, as we're on our way to the memorial, please, could we have it as a silent walk, so that way we can, you know, pay our respects as we're walking to the memorial. And people were more than happy to go along with that. You know, there wasn't any swearing, there wasn't any altercations with the police. People knew what we were there for, and you know, and people turned up in the hundreds. You know, they had.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think how that has grown from the one you did a month ago, which was a good turnout. But this was, I couldn't believe it when I saw it last night. It's absolutely fantastic. And I mean, I have done like things like flyers and banners and stuff like that, and I know how expensive it is. And I was like watching all these things, I'm going, good Lord, how did he get those flags just like that so fast? You know, you've got some printing machine in your back garden, but they cost money. So, I mean, may I be rude enough and ask how you funded it?
Going between friends, you know, people that are there within the community that we have reached out to, you know, that are just willing to support us in every avenue that we're going down. So, you know, making phone calls left, right, and centre, and I believe that within about half an hour, we'd managed to raise near enough all the money for the placards and all the banners and everything else that you can see in the photos, and obviously that people walking down the road with as well. So it was fantastic.
And that's a tremendous contribution, because with respect, we're not looking at West Hampstead here, are we, or Henley, or wherever the posh people live. Do you know what I mean? This is difficult for people struggling with the financial cost of living, and just struggling that they can still find and dig deep in their pockets, which I think is absolutely laudable. But there's one particular poignant thing I just was in awe of, and there's a little girl, I can't remember her name, you're going to say in a minute, 12-year-old girl, and she is just a little superstar. And she, if I remember rightly, she came to the last one, didn't she? And then she made a little speech, I think. I'm right, if you can correct me later. And then she wants to do another one today. But in that meantime, this 12-year-old girl who's year 7, so for those of you who don't know the school system, like our old first year, and her own peers, her own peers were calling her racist and right-wing. Now, I was a deputy head, and my life, those kids would have been in my office in very short space of time. I would not have tolerated that. So I don't know how the school have dealt with it. Not very well, I suspect, because they're not great. Any of the schools are bullying, and that is bullying, outrageous bullying. But she was awesome. Could you say a little bit about her? Because she was the star. Well, you're the star of the show, obviously you are.
No.
And everybody else. She was
Like,
little diamond.
oh, honestly, you know, we as a group, when organising the event that happened on Sunday, were adamant that we had to have this 12-year-old little girl by the name of Bella Rose. And you're right, she is an absolute superstar. We didn't want to go forward with any speeches unless we could have her involved. So we were in touch with her mum and dad, and they got back to us, and they were absolutely delighted that we had been in touch with them and asked for her to be involved in the event going forward. When we put it to her that you know, we would like her to speak at the memorial after the speech that I had prepared myself, she had then turned around and said that she'd actually written her own speech in respect to the Remembrance Sunday March, and was absolutely delighted to say yes, that she would do it. And oh my God, how she carried herself with all them eyes and cameras watching her was just absolutely brilliant. It brought a lump to my throat and a tear to my eye, because it just, you know, that girl is just nothing but an icon for other children to look forward and say, do you know what, she can speak her voice, so why can't we?
But she must have enormous resilience, because, and that is, I think, key in your childhood. The most important thing you can have, and I used to say this when I was teaching, is every child, every adult needs to be resilient, and you can gain resilience, but she will also inspire others and inspire other youngsters. And as you say, you see a child like that doing it, and she was so articulate. What I thought was so sweet when I watched the videos is that she said about Wayne, could we have an hour's silence to honour Wayne? Which, you know, having got your neighbour stabbed and killed on the street is a big thing to actually spit out there with cameras on her. But I love the way she just sort of like looked up at you as if to say, was that all right? That little bit of vulnerability and innocence. It was just little things like that. I thought, oh, you little sweetheart. I mean, I would have loved to have gone up and given her a big hug, because I just thought how proud her parents must be. And you were obviously going to use her. So I was stunned at the numbers of people. I was stunned. So I think you were going to stand outside the Ground Plaza, weren't you? Did you do that?
Yeah, we did. We went and paid our respects at the War Memorial with our speeches and laying our wreaths and poppies. And because obviously we wanted to make sure that we didn't interfere with anybody else's mourning in regards to paying their own respects to people. We didn't leave Mulberry Parade until around about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So by the time we got to the memorial, we were more than able to carry out the event that we wanted to. But obviously, under the narrative of our movement, Hillingdon Says No, we then made our way to the Crown Plaza. But as we turned the corner leading up to the Crown Plaza, we had someone waiting with all of our placards and banners and stuff like that. So that way we could then put them onto the green at the Crown Plaza when we arrived there, where we obviously then had more speeches as well. So it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Migrants jog on.
And somebody went and done more spray painting on the boarding as well, unfortunately. So unfortunately, colourful behaviour, but it sends out a message, that there are angry locals. We are putting this out there that.
But rightfully so. I think it's called righteous anger. I really do. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say to you as well, because I spoke to one of your colleagues, Wendy. There was something about the local vicar or something, was there? Yeah,
Wendy had been contacted by one of the local vicars from a church locally, and he is very much on board and supports in what we were doing, and was actually very, very appreciative as well as the veterans in the way that it was handled.
Yes.
And we've just had nothing but praise. So I think the way that things were handled yesterday, and the way that people conducted themselves, has really opened people's eyes to see now that this narrative of Hillingdon says no, like we have always said, is not. We're not just fixated on making a point in one area or making a point in another area. We are happy to go forward supporting everybody and for all the right reasons going forward. So we encourage everybody, just hear what's going on, open your eyes, see what's happening around you, and see that we're all in this together, and we're all trying to achieve the same thing.
No, unfortunately the government aren't.
No, well, yeah.
I think my dog could do a better job, frankly. But can I just ask you also that because we hear about asylum seekers, I don't think these people are seeking asylum. I think they're financial chancers who think, oh, goody, it's the land of milk and honey, we'll go over there. So I don't know how you feel about today. They're considering giving these people £3,000 to go back to their countries to start up their own business. Well, I don't think you're going to be doing that in Syria or wherever else they come from, Eritrea or whatever. The fact remains that they're probably going to jump back on the first dinghy and get another £3,000. Before they know it, they'll be millionaires. So there's that.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about. But also, I don't know if you've seen the government also considering, you're going to be thrilled about this because it's going to be on the next county to where you are. They are thinking of putting, they're seeking for properties and places around Sussex, only over the border from you, and Inverness, to at least 10,000 migrants. Well, there's another 20,000 to house. Why they can't just stick them on a Scottish island, or why they just can't send them back within 48 hours of their coming? I don't believe they can be asylum seekers, because asylum is you're coming from nasty, nasty countries, and they're coming through Europe, and Europe don't have those issues. So you can't keep using that excuse. And also, how many of those people you see literally going around town and basically irritating and groping people? How many women and children do you see? And what would be the age group of the undocumented men, would you say?
I'd say the largest age group that we tend to see walking around Westrating, or even the Hillingdon borough at the moment would be in the range of, I would say, of probably between 20 to 40. So, to hear you now saying that obviously we're now having it stuck on us to house even more, at the moment it is just an ongoing thing, and people are scared. People are genuinely scared. I mean, the amount of people that have reached out to me personally, reached out to Wendy, one of the girls in the group, it's just shocking. Like I said to you earlier, one of my friends, his daughter's now been affected. My daughter's been affected. There's multiple women, and it's just every single day. We've obviously in the media with what's happened to that woman in Birmingham. So this just shows, this is not just affecting us. It's affecting everywhere.
It is across the country. So, I mean, when you do, I mean, I was staying at the Holiday Inn up in Nottingham at the weekend with a friend of mine, and I got the best deal because she drove down from Glasgow. She had an 8-hour journey back, and I had a 2-hour one. But it was lovely. There was no migrants. It was like I thought, I wonder if I'm going to have a Hillingdon experience, and it wasn't. I had a different experience, lots of wine, but you just felt, I was surprised because I thought Nottingham might have a lot of I don't know why I thought that, but to be fair, I was on the edge of the town. City, is it? I don't know what it is, but it's pretty grim. But I was on the sort of newer built bit where it's all in this sort of like, where B&Q and places like that are. So I didn't really venture out, and weirdly enough, I didn't want to venture out. And when my friend said, "Oh, shall we go, do the shops?" And I said, "No, I don't want to. I don't know. I'm not a city town person anyway. I like being in the middle of the fields." But I said, "Well, A, I don't like that. But B, I don't want to go. So I don't know what it's like there. I even, you do begin to think, well, it could have been anyone on those trains, anyone walking through Hillingdon, anyone walking through Birmingham, whatever. So do you see yourself now? Now we know that they are going to be looking at hitting on Sussex, because there is that would be tragic because it's such a beautiful county. I used to live there. Do you think now you might be reaching out to, well, I mean, where are you going to go now for the next one? Because this is going to go like, you know, it's going to really blossom.
Yeah. I mean,
who's going to join you next that you're targeting?
What we obviously now our remembrance walk has happened. We have got some big things in the pipeline at the moment. We've reached out to Southampton, and we have been in touch with Epping Pink Ladies as well. So we want to start showing now that we are, you know, happy to support everybody. You know, we have said this, you know, but obviously with the Remembrance Day coming up, we wanted to take a step back from the whole protest and actually take a day to honour all the fallen soldiers, the continuing to serve soldiers, you know, at home and abroad as well. So, you know, we really wanted to take a step back and just say, right, okay, this is a day that, you know, will really open people's eyes to see that, you know, we are not just far right racist thugs, you know.
You're not far right. You're just defending the country. And what? Because if we don't do this, the Labour aren't going to. I mean, I happen to be. I don't want to push this point. I happen to be in the bar on the when was it? Was it Saturday night? And the Sky TV was on with the remembrance thing at the Albert Hall, and there, in the little grey, wrinkly, horrible person standing in the shadows was Keir Starmer. And I thought, you've got no right to be here. You've got no right to be here honouring, standing up for the country when you are absolutely, blatantly, transparently destroying it. And then to lay the wreath at the Senate up, I wanted to punch my fist through the screen. It really made me angry. And I'm not an angry person. I don't like getting angry. I'm not an angry person. But it just has really got under my skin, like everybody else, and that's why I'm absolutely thrilled to keep on supporting you, because and I have to tell you, if Southampton don't cough up and join, I should be saying something, because Southampton's my home place. That's where I was born and brought up, and I'll be all over that one if they don't step up.
Well, we have got a little something in the pipeline at the moment. So something that we are hoping that we can take with us on our journeys going forward, supporting other counties. So I'm not gonna give away too much at the moment, but hopefully this will try and get the country together, you know, and wake people up and let them see that, you know, we all need to be as one, not just individual boroughs, you know, so we need to all get on board together.
I said to James earlier, not James, not sorry. I was saying to Lembit earlier, I said, what I'm getting fed up with is I don't. What I liked about what you did, it was a respectful, as the one was before, a respectful, peaceful protest, just making the point. And sometimes I think silence says more. Sometimes, you know, these awful Palestinian protests. I mean, I just despair, and they're not respectful. They're not dignified. I don't think half the people even can be bothered. I think they're a load of rednecks, a lot of them, that just want to create a problem. And how for you did you feel the police were? Were they like edgy? Were they defensive, or were they with you, sort of thing?
We obviously we'd liaised with the police prior to the event starting. So I think the only real issues that we had in regards to with the police was just trying to keep our monsoon of people to one side, where we weren't trying not to block traffic, but you know, sometimes it's a bit hard when you've got a 4 meter wide sign, which you want open so people can obviously see, you know, and see what it is you're here for. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, we wanted for people to see what we were happy to put out there, you know, in regards to showing our respects to Wayne, and at the same time, obviously making people see that, you know, we aren't happy and we're not going to continue to just be silent. And like you've said before, we're not just going to be bystanders, we're going to be upstanders. And, you know, to see the amount of people that turned up yesterday was just phenomenal.
And so have you, because I know we spoke about this, James, have you actually made contact? I think that your group should go and see your MP, and I know it's a Labour MP, that you should go and see him, and you need to see. I actually tagged in Uxbridge Gazette while you were doing this yesterday, and I said, get your people down there. I haven't, of course, had a reply. Or
No. I mean, we tried ourselves, and we have had nothing back.
Sorry.
We tried ourselves, and we had nothing back either.
No,
it's like they just don't want to show any sort of unity from any of the communities, you know, and it's a real shame that it's actually got to that.
I think it's dreadful because it is causing divisions without a doubt, and it shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't at all. I don't know if you saw also recently. I think it was a couple of days ago that the High Court judge has now deemed that any. I mean, I don't think you've seen many elderly people, have you, coming in as illegal migrants, have you? Because what they're saying is that if they're elderly, they won't be sent back. They're not going to be sent back because they might be lonely.
You couldn't make this up. You really could. Personally, no, I haven't. Me personally, no, I haven't. I haven't seen any undocumented men where they're of sort of 50, 60 plus at all.
But they are making out that they're 16, you know.
Oh, yeah, of course.
A large Adam's apple and they're grey haired, but that's the stress of coming over.
But yet some of them that claim their children, you know, are wielding scars across their faces. You know, it's how these people, how our government don't understand that these people are not children, or that they're here with massively only good intentions, you know, towards the country, but yet you're clearly bringing people into the country that have been mixing in the wrong circles to end up with scars like these, or, you know, guys that have, like you get in our prison system, where prisoners have nothing else to do. They hit the gyms, so they bulk up and everything else. They come out of these gyms. They then are so intimidating to females when they're walking up and down the roads that then that leads to women and children then being scared of going out of their homes. This guy is now an undocumented gentleman that now has no fear of walking the streets on his own, or even then going out with friends. How is this fair to a community? How is this fair to a country that have had their relatives fight for the freedoms and all the luxuries that we have today, for now a Labour government to bring these men in with no second thought to the people that live and are born and bred in this country, to just dust us aside, to say, come in, here you go.
And did you see the other day, like, this is the whole thing, isn't it, of gaslighting and minimalising? We're supposed to now call them irregular migrants. No, they're not. No, they're not irregular. You know, not irregular. They're illegal.
I'm just not going to comment on that because, you know, the thing is, there's so many issues with Labour. There's so many issues within our community and every other community that, you know, it's just, when are people going to just turn around and go, do you know what? You know, as much as some people are very much scared to say anything or to speak up because they feel they'll be alienated by other members of their community. Put it this way, would you be happy to have these gentlemen come and stay in your house or come and stay in your community round the corner from your daughters or your sons? Be happy to have them standing on bins, tearing down your local school fences, to be able to see your children, to have these thoughts that, you know, this should just not be happening. No, there's certain words and certain terminology I can't use on television. Well, but you know, it's got to stop. It really has got to stop.
And my friends, they live around the corner from me, and I live in a very, very oldie worldy village, and they've got this lovely flat place there, but they're renting out at the moment. But they're over in The Hague, and he's in charge of Europol, and he is working with the National Crime Agency, and he wasn't bold when he went over there 2 years ago, but he's rapidly He can't. He just cannot. It's just such hard work convincing. He said when Yvette Cooper was Home Secretary, it was a nightmare, and it's no better now. It's just going worse and worse and worse. And they're due to come back next year. And he said they're just going to have Union Jacks flying all around their house.
Oh,
Really,
you know, I mean, there is an old footage going around on social media that's been going around for a while, and it was the coffee shop that sits on Brighton Pier. And as the migrants were unboarding from the boats, they had people there set up handing full boxes, a full pizza to each one of the migrants as they're getting off the boats and then walking away from the shore, but walking around with full boxes of pizzas. You know, here you go, come in. You know, you obviously had it very hard, you know, coming across the water, you know, putting yourself at risk to come and get all the free luxuries here. So, you know, before you get all of that, have a free pizza on us.
You know, the thing that they also haven't considered, though, I mean, I'm going to sound like a snob, but I'm not a snob. It's reality. Does anyone check them for diseases that they might have? Because I live, Bedfordshire's a small county, and I sort of live in the middle of it where Woburn is, and you know, so I'm like 10 miles from Luton and 10 miles from Bedford. It's a small county, but Luton is the second highest place in the country for TB. Now, you almost need a passport to get into Luton because you hardly see any white people. And I mean, but what diseases are they coming in? Do you remember that thing last year, monkeypox, that was coming in? That looked like a very bad case of chickenpox. It was horrible. But what diseases are they bringing in? Are they bringing in sexually transmitted diseases? Probably yes. What other? I mean, I saw the other day as well that diphtheria is coming back again. Now, we had eradicated diphtheria. We had got rid of it. And are these people coming in and being, I mean, the first thing they should do is be inoculated before, or no, the best thing they could do is just be sent back. But I mean, I do worry about the different diseases that are killer diseases they might be bringing in.
And the thing is, obviously, that where they're coming in, and some of them are stating that they're only of adolescence age, you know, they're then putting themselves in schools with our children. They're then spreading if they do have anything to then our children. So then that's affecting our kin, and that's affecting the future of this country.
Well, I have known about those schools for over 3 years now, because one of my colleagues works in Kent, and I've been aware of that for over 3 years, that they're coming in and they are blagging it, because a lot of them are quite short. So and then they're saying that, they have puberty earlier, that's why they've got like beard growth, you know, stubbly things. And then my friend, her daughter, and oh my golly, did I battle with Kent County Council for her to help her. She was going to have this. She had come out of a domestic abuse situation, and he was a very aggressive man who would have very easily found out where they were living. So it was very important that she lived close to a school where she could get back. She was told that she was going to have to, because of all their overload in the schools, that her daughter was going to have, age 11, was going to have to go on 3 buses over a 20-mile journey to get to a school that she should have been able to go in straight away on that catchment area. Oh my golly, the letters and the push and the phone calls that I helped her make. And then we got her sorted out with a grant to help her into a very closely to her a private school, actually. She's a very bright kid. But I mean, who in their right mind would think that was safe? Number one, because, you know, dark mornings, dark evenings, and she is of black ethnicity and terrified, but also that the man, the dad, very, very aggressive, violent man. And if he knew she was doing that, but it's open to all sorts of abuse, isn't it? If you're having to stand at a bus stop and then change again, then the bus doesn't turn up. It's just dreadful. There's no protection or regard for families or children here. And truly, I've done my job for 23 years, and I've never seen any interest in the protection of children.
Well, I actually heard this over the radio numerous times that the government have been cutting the funding to transport for, you know, children with special educational needs. So, you know, and unfortunately, these schools aren't littered around like every other normal high school or academy school. You know, these are very far and few in between. So parents that, you know, that live in the area where some have potentially moved to that area to be able to have their children attend these schools. But unfortunately, there are other parents that don't live in the local areas that use this service that was provided by the government to be able to get their children the education they need by, you know, having this free service to come and pick up their children.
Well,
so now to have that limited or not even limited in some areas, to be stripped away completely, these parents are now having to start later in the morning, finish earlier in the evening. So now that's affecting their income, you know, and we're already struggling the way we are. And not obviously not just myself, the whole country.
We've just talked about time and times of schools and everything. So I've had an earpiece in my ear hole saying it's time to close. So James, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And thank you for all your doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on again.
I'll be in touch with you soon. Thank you so much. And to everybody. And to everybody.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages.